Jimmy Kimmel has dropped 70% of his ratings in 1 week with not a single other person to blame. The Walt Disney Company played hardball with stations that refused to put Jimmy back on the air. And as predicted, they've caved. But we're here to tell you, that's a good thing. Because now, finally, late night can't blame the Orange Man. They can't claim there's a conspiracy against loony left comedians. No, now Disney and their goofy goons are stuck with a failing Jimmy and no one to blame. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. Happy Sunday morning. If you're watching this video at the time of release, we're so happy that you are here with us, where we are going to deliver up the truth with a capital T on a platter made of chatter. And yes, folks, we're ready to dive into the news. As we do so, click that like button, and here we go out of CNN Business by Brian the Forehead Stelter and Liam Riley. The Jimmy Kimmel blackout is completely over. Nexstar and Sinclair back down. Now, these are the ABC stations that were trying to hold out and say Jimmy Kimmel is too offensive, our markets refuse, and we all thought, and we told you that probably this was not going to work. And why? Well, remember, last week we read you the article from Charlie Gasparino. And Charlie Gasparino, who's previously of Fox Business, he's with the Wall Street Journal now, I believe. Maybe CNBC, I don't remember exactly, but no, New York Post. Charlie Gasparino said that Disney was ready to go nuclear. Remember we did the video about them going nuclear? And a lot of people watched that video, and we explained that, yes, Disney was ready to take away Monday Night Football. They were ready to try to replace the stations and force them to not air the Super Bowl. Disney was ready to do whatever it took. Would Disney have won in court had Sinclair and Nexstar taken the court over it? Maybe not. But that was not a play they were willing to do because there's no guarantees. And one thing you can take to the bank is viewers were going to be hopping mad if they lost their football. So the CNN article says, the blackout of Jimmy Kimmel Live is over. Sinclair and Nexstar, the two major station groups that preempted the talk show earlier this month, are allowing the show to return to their ABC-affiliated stations, and it's talking about Friday evening, this past Friday. Now, why does that matter? Well, because we're going to get some stats you need to know about that Friday, because there's no excuse now. Out of the Rolling Stone, though, Kimmel thanks Trump for record ratings amid station boycott. Couldn't have done it without you. The host broadcast return raked in 6.2 million viewers on Tuesday, despite being preempted by 20% of ABC affiliates. This was by Charisma Matarang. And I'm not going to read the article. I just want you to see the headline because I want you to see they were so proud. They were so happy. They were so happy. And we told you what was really going to happen. We predicted them. We know them better than they know themselves. And you know them too. They came out the headlines. And then what do? They don't want you to know what happens afterwards. Yes, everybody tuned in to see and guess what Jimmy Kimmel was going to say. Was he going to apologize? Would he actually do it? Would he double down and attack the right some more in his return? Well, folks, here's what really happened. This is out of That Park Place. It's by Marvin Montanaro. Jimmy Kimmel ratings crater after brief comeback surge. What? Wait, why? When? Where is this all over the Hollywood trades? Where's this on the major media outlets out there, the legacy going extinct dinosaur media? Well, they don't want to talk about it, but we do. Disney and ABC spent much of this week trying to trumpet the big Jimmy Kimmel return to late night television. 6.3 million viewers on September 23rd. But the spike did not last. By the very next night, viewership had plummeted about 2.4 million, according to Nielsen ratings, cited by Outkick. By the way, that means that Gutfeld beat Jimmy Kimmel in his second night. That represents a 60 to 70% overnight collapse. In plain terms, most of the audience that tuned in to see what the fuss was about immediately vanished, leaving Kimmel right back in the rut he was in before suspension. Now, let me tell you, folks, if he dropped 60 to 70% in one night, where do you think he is on the Friday that the affiliates came back? Now think about that. The Friday ratings, he has no excuse. We don't have the Friday ratings yet, but we have the first day ratings after he came back, right? And we know, as it says, 60 to 70% drop in night number 2. And guess what, folks? Guess what? He got beat by Gutfeld. So where is Jimmy Kimmel likely to be by Friday? Well, One might assume that Jimmy Kimmel probably dropped another 50% at least from that 60 to 70% drop. So in other words, after he dropped 60 to 70%, then by Friday, he probably dropped another 50%. And what does that mean? Well, it means that Jimmy Kimmel is probably already underperforming where he was before he took his pause. Now, why do we say that? Why do we believe that? Because if you drop that percentage in one night, and if now not only was the right turned away by Jimmy Kimmel, but now the middle thinks he's so toxic and abrasive and were offended by what he had to say, he already had the left. Listen, folks, Jimmy Kimmel already had the left. There's nobody else for him to pick up on the left to come watch him. It's as big as he's ever going to be, was before. All he has is room to drop. Storm Robinson over on X says this: Jimmy Kimmel will have his highest ratings of his career over the next week or so. Then his show will be canceled at the end of his contract. Now, I don't know that to be true because Disney is fanatic at this point. They're fanatical at keeping the radicals on their programming in a way that is anti-business and anti-success. But Bob Iger might be thinking, hey, I'll bring back Jimmy and some other CEO can fix it. He says, not because of fascism or censorship, simply because his show sucks and no one watches it. And you can see here, in 2025, Jimmy Kimmel has a 0.16 rating. When Jimmy Kimmel took over, he had a 0.71. Okay? So in 10 years or so, how much has he dropped, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let's do 16 times 2 is 32. Times 4 is 60 what? 64? So, more than 4 times over he's dropped. He's holding less than 25% of the audience he held when he took over. Less than 25%. And that's before what would you say? That's before the outcasting of him from America as Americans turned against this show and said, this cannot go on anymore. And now Disney has forced him back on the airwaves. Well, how do you think people are going to react to that? Yeah, people tuned into that first show to see what was going to happen, but they're not going to stay. It's terrible. And they got more dosage of terrible. And they're going to go away. They're going to go away. So that's Jimmy Kimmel. That's Jimmy Kimmel. Folks, down 60%. Will the legacy media tell you that? Will the Rolling Stone come out and say, Jimmy Kimmel drops 70% in first week? No, they're not going to say that. They're not going to say that. You know why they're not going to say that? Because they don't have to say that. Because they're all about power. They're not about telling the truth. Here's the real truth. The problem for Disney, now that these affiliates are back, as this show continues to drop more and more, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel was at 120,000 in the demo before he got taken off air for a brief respite. When he comes back, he drops 60 to 70% in the first week. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be surprised if Jimmy Kimmel cannot hit 100,000 in the demo going forward. And that means that Disney brought back a dead show. Average-sized YouTube channels regularly beat Jimmy Kimmel. By the end of his tenure now, Disney will be paying and losing, I don't know how much they're going to lose, tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars for a show that will regularly be beaten by small YouTube channels on a daily basis. And they're going to try to trick you into thinking that he's some sort of big cultural icon. Will they keep his show? Maybe. Maybe. Will it make any kind of financial or business sense? No, it won't. It never has. It's not going to. This is all about political strong-arming America. This is all about forcing a man who is a farce back on the airwaves night after night after night. You all get to make a decision, though. After what he said and how he responded, you get to decide. Are you going to support the Disney company anymore? I can't tell you what to do on that. I can only tell you Jimmy Kimmel is back for more. But audiences do not appear to be. 70% drop. That's wild. 70% drop. Folks, help us send this out across the airwaves. Click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And again, thank you for joining us this Sunday morning. We've got more content on the way. 3 more videos today alone. Until the next time, we have the honor, the joy, the privilege, and the pleasure of spending time with you. Keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Okay, these colors just seem to conflict with your natural tone.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Obviously, we're getting Jose ready to throw his name in the hat to be the next CEO of Disney.
That's ridiculous. He's not qualified for that kind of role.
Well, of course he is. He's a wonderful candidate for a corporate puppet.
What on earth is happening?
He's literally a foreign agent by all accounts. You think honoring boundaries is a thing? No! This is Disney! He's got diversity points, green skin, and a wig. And most importantly, he likes to destroy things and blow them up, whether they're from the past or from now. He shows no discrimination.
Okay, you know what? I really can't argue with any of that. So,
right?
You do have fun. I'm gonna go read thatparkplace.com and watch WDW Pro.
Okay, bye. Okay, Jose, say magical experiences.
I already hate this.